What is up, ladies and gentlemen? And no, I'm not going to bore you with the same information that I provided on the first podcast video. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up and a reminder that this Friday, July 27th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to be having our first HHN live stream. For those of you who did not participate last year, the HHN live stream is when we live stream watching some of the horror movies and horror TV shows that are the basis for the properties of the mazes coming to HHN this year. So we're going to be starting with Trick or Treat, then we're going to go on to the first episode of Stranger Things, and usually this is when we have like a Q&A when we're streaming. We have a lot of inside jokes that somehow form during the streams, and of course there's also going to be some updates and information about the channel. So go check it out, come see us on our stream July 27th. It's free, join us, we're all going to be watching Trick or Treat together. We're not going to be able to broadcast it, but come join us anyway. And without further ado, here's the second episode of the Pick Your Brain podcast. Welcome to the Pick Your Brain podcast from the demented minds of the TLEV YouTube channel. Ooh. My name is Thomas.
And I'm Mr. E. Whoa, Mr. E's here.
Mr. E, welcome to the podcast, first debut.
Nice.
And today we're going to be talking about San Diego. We're going to be talking about
SDCC.
SDCC, that's right. Comic-Con, and particularly all the news around horror. So we're going to talk about horror TV shows, and we're going to talk about the horror movies that had their own little panels. So,
yep, we got Halloween, Glass, and then we also got American Horror Story Apocalypse, and then we also got The Purge, 10-part or 10-episode series coming out too on TV.
So you know what? I think we should just dive into American Horror Story. So yeah, like you said, the new name for the new season, season 8 of American Horror Story is American Horror Story Apocalypse.
Yep. It means a lot. Well, I think it means a lot because American Horror Story, the new season that's coming out, is going to connect with Coven and Murder House. Mm-hmm. I would say Murder House is probably my favorite. Coven, pretty good. You know, this connection can just change how everything goes because connecting these two, we will have a connection with the Murder House, which takes place, I forget when it takes place, the Murder House.
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely takes place, I think it's around the same time as Coven.
I believe so. That's why
which is why they can do the
perfect
crossover, yeah.
What I believe this season is going to be about, if you look at the poster that came out, there's a baby with claws, and then there's a hand reaching out. But I think that's more like a metaphor, a historical metaphor. Mm-hmm. I believe there's going to be a recent Blair Witch trials that are going to be... Salem Witch trials. My bad. Salem Witch trials that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. It could be, you know, the main family in Murder House. The father... No, he passed away. He dies.
But I think going back on that poster, what's really, really crucial about this poster is it's the first time that it actually looks like another season's poster, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same color scheme of Murder House. Yeah. So, and the claws are what's represented in the American Horror Story Coven poster. So does this mean that this season's going to focus from the Murder House perspective? Mm-hmm. And so, like you're saying, is there going to be something like the family and the culture of Murder House is now going to be invaded by Coven, like they're going to be invaded by the witches?
Well, if I remember how Murder House ends, the daughter in the family, she becomes a ghost. She dies in the house. So does that mean the you remember how the witch, the coven is in a certain house?
Mm.
Does this mean maybe they're moving houses and they somehow are placed into the murder house, and they're going to meet the daughter as she's a ghost, and there's also I can't remember his name. It's always played by he plays Tate.
Oh, what he plays in Coven?
Yeah, no. In Murder House, he plays a ghost in the house. In the house, so maybe the Coven is going to be moving into this new house, and they're going to be starting their Coven in this new house.
That's an idea, yeah. But also remember, like how it ends in Coven, they expanding, right? They're bringing this sisterhood, right? There's more and more witches.
Maybe they're gonna have to expand even more. Maybe make it a different. Separate section or something like that.
Possibly, yeah. Maybe they're having like different areas of the country are having like their own sisterhood.
It's really possible, or it also can just be the common people are finding about the witch and.
That's right. Because isn't it at the end of Coven that they actually get like a news broadcast about?
That's true.
So maybe that's what the apocalypse is. Now they know that witches exist.
Exactly.
So, well, all of this and probably more questions will be answered September 12th, which is a Wednesday, and that's when American Horror Story is coming back. But now let's shift gears to the other TV show that was represented at Comic-Con, and that's the Purge TV series. So this is going to be a 10-episode. I actually learned that this isn't a mini-series, because a mini-series is between 2 to 6 episodes.
Okay.
It's called a maxi-series, because it's between a mini-series and a series, because a series has to have 20-plus episodes.
Okay.
Didn't know that. But yeah, so it's called a maxi-series. And so this is going to be on USA, and, very, very appropriate. What we learned from the first Purge, when there was like an after credits, there was like a little teaser trailer, was that this is going to be 10 years after the events of the first Purge.
So they were connecting it already between those two. Okay.
So what this actually means also, like in terms of all the movies, is that this is 3 years after Purge Anarchy.
Okay. Alright. So, present time. Well, if I remember, Purge Anarchy takes place in present time, right?
Well, it takes place in 2024.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So this is going to be like 2027.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense.
So it's gonna be pretty interesting because this is like at least a decade before election year, and what we finally saw in San Diego Comic-Con was a trailer, like a full-on trailer for the Purge TV series.
It seems like there's going to be 3 separate stories, I believe, with the daughter. The characters' names, right? The one daughter the one female who seems to be placed into a cult, right?
Oh yeah, so I was gonna
go ahead.
I was gonna touch up on that. We don't know any of their names yet.
No.
At least I don't know their names yet because it wasn't mentioned in the trailers. We do see that Gabriel Chavarria, he's playing the brother who's looking for his sister, and we see him come across like a cult, and they're saying that, oh no, your sister's not purging tonight, she's being purged. And so then we see what we think is her sister, and it's a young woman dressed in a blue robes, which are like the same color of blue as the flowers that represent the purge. The blue flower is called, I believe, a delphinium flower. I think that's what it is. The delphinium flower in this universe represents rebirth, and because blue is very, very unnatural, there's not that many blue flowers, so it's very interesting. I think that was the thinking behind the blue flower. But yeah, that really was something that I thought was crucial about this trailer. Another thing that I thought was interesting was that at the beginning we see like a gentleman who looks like either a banker or like an accountant who's like explaining to a couple in their living room that all crime will go down if there is a legal way for people to get rid of their rage. So the question that I kind of brought up for me is, does that mean the purge is not nationwide yet?
Ooh.
Like, we know by election year that it is a national issue.
Right.
But are there still areas of the nation that the purge doesn't take place in?
So is it possible that they're going to make this connection maybe towards the end of the maxi series?
Oh, to election year?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I think what's very interesting is because this is like right in the middle of the entire franchise, we have to see at least one of the other characters that we've seen before.
What I'm interested in is the guy with the mask. He's shown a lot in the trailer.
Yeah,
the guy in the black.
Yeah. Actually, because you haven't seen the first Purge yet, that's the teaser trailer. Is him making that mask.
Ooh.
So we hear like voiceover talking about the Purge, and he's making it, like he's welding.
So you guys don't know who he is.
He was not in. He's not in the movie. And like in both trailers, we have not seen his face. So maybe it is someone.
Maybe it's someone we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, I don't know how first Purge ends. Does the security guard, or I know he was a security guard. He was a special service, or.
Oh, you're talking about Purge Anarchy?
No, yeah, he was also in Purge Anarchy.
Oh, no, he wasn't in the first Purge.
He wasn't in there yet?
No,
okay.
No.
But is it possible that, because you remember he was mad at in Anarchy he was mad at his boss, right? And
right.
He wanted to kill his boss. But does this mean maybe they're going to bring him back, or since first Purge you didn't see him, and maybe we're going to get a further backstory of that character.
Ooh.
Maybe he was a crazy guy who purged a lot.
Well, remember, so what's interesting about the character you're talking about is that he was in Purge Anarchy and Election Year, right?
Right.
He's in charge. Mm-hmm. He's head of security in Election Year.
Yeah, that's
And since this is after Purge Anarchy, I think maybe the clips, like maybe they're gonna do like a little flashback in the series. They definitely have enough episodes to do flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be very interesting.
I mean, it could be that, or maybe it's gonna be something simple as like, it's gonna be the girl's brother or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, but definitely going back to the sister of Gabriel Chavarria, we see that this cult is actually, there's a cult in Election Year, and they're trying to get rid of this movement, this radical movement to get rid of the Purge. Is it the same cult? Or have there been multiple cults formed about this Purge?
Yeah, that...
Because we see, it could actually even be the same people, because like in the trailer, we see they're pretty young. And in Election Year, which is, I believe, 15 years after this series, they look a lot like older. They look a lot like they're middle-aged. Maybe they're in their 40s. I mean, there's a lot like salt and pepper in the hair, right?
Yeah.
They definitely look aged. But that's that. I mean, I think these are all questions that are going to be answered in the TV series.
Are we going to see the I forgot the resistance group being formed or something like that?
That's true.
Actually, no, they're already formed.
They're already
right?
formed in Anarchy, right?
But are we going to see them maybe become a lot stronger, or maybe they're going to get decimated or something like that?
That's true, because
group?
There is like that big time gap. So like, what happened? Why didn't they do it earlier?
Right.
That's
exactly.
That's a good. Yeah, maybe their resistance does like have to take a step back. Maybe they lose a lot of people, and then they have to come back even stronger.
Anything's possible right now.
Absolutely. So just a couple of the actors that we know, because one thing that at Comic-Con that they had was a Purge City. So it was like making fun of Party City.
Yeah.
Where everything was free for guests, and they could get their own mask, get their own accessories, they could get tattooed. And so we saw a couple of the actors who are in this TV show. So one of them, of course, is Fiona Dourif, who's the daughter of Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif is very famous for being Chucky. And also she played Nika Pierce in Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky.
There you
go. And we also saw Gabriel Chavarria. He worked in War for the Planet of the Apes and also Lowrider. So
nothing big yet. This could be his big break into horror.
His big break in horror. Yeah, definitely nothing in horror. But I think, with those stellar cast, a lot could happen. So now I'm literally going to flip the page, and now we're not going to talk about horror TV shows. We're going to talk about the horror movies. The 2 horror movies that were talked about at San Diego Comic-Con. So let's start with Glass.
Oh, Glass. Okay. With Glass, so this trailer starts.
We got a trailer, yeah.
We see Sarah Paulson, a very, very famous actress in the horror community.
Yes.
She's playing Ellie Staple.
Mm-hmm.
She's well, at first we just see her interviewing, and we're like, okay.
Well, at first we don't know who she's talking
exactly.
about.
And that's why,
we're talking to.
She's saying, we specialize in catching or talking and helping out people who believe they're superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera turns, and we see Mr. Glass, Dave Dunn, and then Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Right in the middle. Yeah.
Right there in the middle. And then this shows the next clip. It's him laughing
and clapping.
Clapping. That's what I mean.
I'm pretty sure that's Patricia. Like, remember in Split, Patricia was very much the mastermind. It was Patricia, Dennis, and Hedwig. Those were the main three.
Those were the main 3
that we saw in Split. And so I'm pretty sure it's Patricia, still very much in control. But yes, I agree with you that it is very interesting that she says, though, specializing people with the delusion of grandeur. So is this really a delusion? And she said that they specialize, and this is a growing field.
Mm.
So are
there more? Are there more out there? Because we do see in the trailer near the end, I would say, there's someone in the comic book shop.
Mm-hmm.
You see him looking at heroes and villains section of the comic books. Can this be a new character adding on to the storyline? Maybe someone with powers. I'm doing quote unquote powers.
Well, Mr. E, let me pick your brain. Would you want to see more people, or would you want it to be a smaller cast?
Okay. Well, what I think is add more people, but towards the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to see Mr. Glass, Dave Dunn, and the Kevin Wendell Crumb, who plays the Horde. I want to see them in action. Mm-hmm. It seems like that Mr. Glass and the Horde is going to team up together. Yeah. Seems like they escape. Mm-hmm. But does this mean the person we see in the comic book shop? Does this mean this is going to be someone that helps Dave Dunn catch the 2?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Or does this mean... I'm throwing something out there.
Go ahead.
Is Sarah Paulson also a superhero or quote-unquote superhero?
Interesting. Yeah, we do see her at one point. I think it's during like one of the first fights between the Horde and Dave Dunn. We see her grab Dave Dunn as he's like drowning and like pick him up from his arm though. Like,
yeah, could that be like there's a battle that just happened and the Horde just got rid of him, but there's Ellie Staple over there to save him, and maybe she's gonna team up with him there.
What I'm really curious about after seeing this trailer, now thinking about it in terms of that, this is maybe all in their head. I want to rewatch Unbreakable and Split and see if there's ever actually a point where we see from another person's perspective what they're doing and these people actually being alive. Like the closest I get is Casey Cook, who was played by the very, very talented and of course exquisitely beautiful Anya Taylor-Joy. She played Casey Cook in the movie, and she sees the Beast, but at night.
She sees the Beast, but maybe maybe
she was scared. Maybe she didn't actually know what she was seeing.
I feel like she didn't see it as the Beast, or it's possible she didn't even see it as the Beast. It could be she saw him as, but also. Saw the Horde as just Kevin Wendell Crumb, just him in the dark. But also, she does talk to his different personalities.
Yeah, she does.
So we do know he does have his different personalities.
Yes. Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
That is for sure. Yeah, that is for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. We never see the Horde in action with the character. They're always running ahead of him, right? In the scene where, like, in the cave. Oh, it wasn't the cave.
No, when they're under the zoo, right? Now we know that's in the the underground tunnels of the zoo. Well, I mean, we do see, we know that Casey sees him eating her friend, right? The part where, so we know that, I mean, he could just be a cannibal. He could just be, maybe he's having a mental break, and so the beast. When he meets the beast, right? When he goes to the train station, he's by himself, right? Casey's not there with him. When we see him running as the horde, or I mean as the beast, he's by himself. We're sure that there's like dogs barking, and police are like, oh, they're probably just some animal.
Yeah, at the end, because at the end you have the police searching for him, but then we just see him as his. And we see him as the beast, but then he turns into himself, and no one sees him on the screen.
But I mean, to counter argue, like there is the whole fact that Casey shoots him 3 times with a shotgun, and he's still alive. Like at the end of the movie, Patricia and Hedwig and Dennis are talking about like now we're going to show the world who we are.
Well, there's also a scene in the Glass trailer. You see. Kevin in the outside in the rain. I believe it's the rain. I don't remember it's in the rain. Okay. And there's a bunch of, I believe, police officers or just special force with their guns on him. But does that mean and he's in his form as the Horde? Because it doesn't seem like he's gonna attack them. He's just standing there. So does that mean he's in his Horde form? So that would mean that he could kill them easily. Or is he just as his common Kevin form, and
well, I mean, he's hardly ever Kevin, right? Because Patricia,
that's true.
So it's one of them. That's an idea. I definitely like how they are bringing back Casey for this movie. We see Hedwig interact with her in the trailer.
Are we going to see her a lot in the movie? That's another question. Is she going to be character?
She was definitely. I think she is going to be one of the supporting characters.
Right.
I wouldn't say she's a side character. I'd say she's a supporting character. Like Sarah Paulson's going to be, her character is going to be in this movie. Yeah. Because we saw at Comic-Con, at the panel, she was there, right? Anya was there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
She was talking about how this movie translated from Split, how her interactions with James McAvoy developed. I think what's very interesting about this movie is that M. Night Shyamalan has been working on it for the past 18 years. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm hoping there's just going to be some crazy ending because it is M. Night Shyamalan, but also 18 years on this? Wow.
Also, going back to Kevin Wendell Crumb, so at the end of Split, the 24th personality is the Beast.
Right.
But Ellie Staple, when she's talking with him, says that he has more than 24 personalities. So he's developed more personalities since Split. So what is the time difference between Split and Glass?
But I wonder if there's going to be... They're going to also show us how they capture Dave Dunn and Mr. Glass.
I think they have to, yeah.
I would hope they show that. Maybe they'll show that in like the first 5 minutes. I believe the first 5 minutes of the movie is going to be how they caught Kevin.
It might just be like while the credits are like the opening credits are rolling, like directed by M. Night Shyamalan, written by M. Night. Like we see a montage of them getting caught. I think that would be sufficient. Right?
Yeah.
We don't really need them to be. We don't need them to elaborate on it. That's not the main focus of the movie. On some of the interviews, so I'm just gathering from some of the interviews, like the interview with Conan O'Brien, Samuel L. Jackson, whenever he saw M. Night Shyamalan, would just yell at M. Night Shyamalan, when are we making a sequel?
They've been waiting so long for
this. They've been waiting. Bruce Willis was totally on board immediately when Night called him.
And that's the best part, because that means, they're going to let M. Night just take over control of this movie, and they're not going to... There's not gonna be any argument or anything like that, because they're so happy to work on the film with him.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the best part. That means you're gonna get them in their full form of acting, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be one of the greatest thriller horror films out there.
I agree. But let's talk about one horror film that might fight that title. And that is the 40 years in the making, so not 18 years.
40 years.
40 years in the making sequel, Halloween. It's being produced.
The return.
It's being produced by Blumhouse, and they had their own panel at Comic-Con, and there was a standing ovation. The crowd was cheering crazy loud when they showed like a 12-minute clip of the film, what's been done.
Wow.
And so I'm really excited from that noise.
Heck
that
yeah.
noise, that information that we've just received. Like, I want to be that excited.
No, everyone is excited, but let's hope the movie can hold up to the excitement.
Well, I do have like some hope. Like after like some of the questions that the moderator asked, like what elements of comedy are you bringing to Halloween? Right? I think
that's a good question.
It's hard to balance
that's
horror
right.
and comedy sometimes. So the director, David Gordon Green, he said, "We're taking this movie seriously and playing it straight. We're honoring the first Halloween in every way, but there are definitely some tension breakers and interesting characters you'll meet on Halloween night." So I like that. I like that the focus of this movie is not to recreate Halloween. This isn't a remake. This is a sequel. It rewrites, all the movies, including Halloween 2, which makes me sad because I really, really liked Halloween 2.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's very good, but you know what? It's fine. I love the first one.
Yes.
So then they also asked a question to Jamie Lee Curtis, who of course plays Laurie Strode.
Iconic.
Oh my goodness, Laurie Strode. Not that hard of a name, but I'm having issues apparently. So one of the questions is, who is Laurie Strode 40 years after the Halloween movie? And Jamie Lee Curtis says Laurie Strode is a woman who has been waiting 40 years to face off against her greatest trauma, and David Gordon Green wrote a character that says, "I am taking back my narrative and I am taking back my life." That sounds intense.
That's amazing.
That including or that plus the trailers where we see her with the guns and she's shooting those mannequins.
She's going full out Terminator 2 as what's her, Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor. She is full on Sarah Connor
right now. That's what she's doing.
And another comment or another quote was, "You can put anything of your worst imagination into that blank canvas." Talking about the shape, talking about Michael Myers' mask. And that makes him the scariest, because it's true. You don't see him.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that kind of gives me hope, because seeing that trailer with the couple that's interviewing Michael in the penitentiary, I was worried. I was worried that this was going to be like similar to Rob Zombie's Halloween, where we were going to really know Michael Myers, and it wasn't just going to be the shape.
Yeah.
That comment, that quote gives me hope that this movie really is the focus that. Okay, Michael Myers has escaped, but he's still this being that we don't know anything about.
But I think that people enjoy that more. The mystery. It adds on to the scare, to the fear and all that.
And I think we'll just wrap up like the Q&A with this question, which was, what did the movie or what did making this movie mean to you? And so Jamie Lee Curtis said, "Halloween is the greatest job I will ever have.
Wow.
Laurie Strode is the greatest character I will ever get to play. We made this little movie on the streets of Pasadena and LA 40 years later. Here we are at Comic-Con. I am privileged to play this character in one of the greatest horror movies of all time." And you know what? I think that
she's on board on this movie.
She's on board. She's ready.
It's like I'm gonna make a connection here. Star Wars. Mark Hamill never seemed on board with Star Wars, the Last Jedi.
You're right. There was all those rumors coming out about like how he was not okay with the character.
But here, it's a whole different story, and that is great. That both of these movies, Glass and Halloween, are everyone's on board.
Yeah, and it's like there's like a time difference too, and they still love those characters.
It's like a huge family they're building around.
Exactly.
And that's great. That's beautiful.
Well, Mr. E, thank you for letting me pick your brain. And let us know what y'all think. And if you enjoyed this podcast, thank you for listening. And of course, we'll see you next week. My name is Thomas.
My name is Mr. E.
And have a good one.